Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I am so excited to be here today with you all. Since my first year as a teacher, I have been a member of Patapsco High School's PTA, and as a teacher, I fulfilled the T in PTA. But on March 5th of this year, I became a parent and fulfilled the P in PTA. And so I can't thank you enough for inviting me here to Austin to speak at your convention. I believe in public education. I value parents as vital partners in a school's success. And I greatly appreciate the first full nights of sleep I've had since March. But really, it wasn't my first full night's sleep. It was just the first time that upon waking from a full night's sleep, I wasn't met by my wife's piercing, guilt-inducing stare directly into my soul. And all the husbands in the audience know that I can only tell that joke because I'm 1,500 miles away from home. This morning, I'd like to tell you 3 stories that I think speak to the importance of your work, the work that you have chosen to do for children. My own story, the story of an incredible parent like yourselves, and one of my many students that highlight how a great school can help launch a life. Despite my jokes earlier, our son Silas has been an incredible blessing in our lives. My wife and I have been reading books on parenting, but there's one particular quote from Anne Lamott's operating instructions that has most resonated with me. Lamott remarks, "There really are places in your heart you don't even know exist until you love a child." You all are here today because you know the truth in that statement. I'm sure many of you are the superhero parents that can make pain disappear with a single kiss, can chase away fear with a tender hug, or alleviate disappointment through a caring conversation. But you're also here because you've made a choice. You have chosen to say that it's not enough that you care for your child in the comfort of your own home, but to be their advocate and their champion at school as well, to ensure a robust educational program, to raise funds to make ends meet when budgets fall short, and to be a vital voice in school improvement. And I have to say thank you, not only as a teacher, but as someone who remembers what it was like to be a student who needed an incredible public school to survive his childhood and believe in his own potential. Teacher and journalist Nick Ferroni recently wrote, "Students who are loved at home come to school to learn, and students who aren't come to school to be loved." Throughout my high school career, I fell into the latter category. Though a woman with a good heart, my mother was fighting a losing battle with alcoholism during my adolescence. My father, who is a good man, had his hands full trying to work and maintain some stability in our lives. And that is when I escaped to school. It was at school that I found the friends, teachers, learning, and after-school activities that helped me to feel loved during those rough times. In classrooms, I rediscovered a belief in myself, and with the help of incredible teachers, began to expect things of myself once again. It wasn't until graduation that I learned it was our school's PTA that had stepped in to make possible some of the few bright memories I have from that time, by funding prom tickets, reducing the price for my class trip, tickets to our after-school prom, and senior class parties. My mother lost her battle with alcoholism in the spring of my senior year, but these were the memories, some of the few bright times that where I was able to escape that sadness into a moment of happiness. So to those of you in this room who moonlight as food vendors at sporting events, who feel like you might as well be a stockholder for frozen food companies, who give up time with your families to attend PTA meetings, I know that it does take a village. And I thank you on behalf of all the students who you do this work for. It takes people who have found places in their hearts that they didn't even know existed in order to extend their time, talents, and care beyond their own families. As a teacher, I have been lucky to work with involved parents who have made a difference at my school. After being shepherded through high school successfully by incredible teachers, I felt compelled to spend my adult life paying that forward. I was afforded an incredible opportunity to build a site of the Avid College Preparatory Program in order to pave a path to college for students entering high school in the academic middle. In almost all cases, one of the first generations in their family to hold a college degree. And I always dreamed big for our Avid program. I wanted to become a point of pride for our students and our school. I wanted it to truly become the vehicle for students who needed some academic support and mentoring in order to change the trajectory of their lives. And 2 years into that work, it was proving so much harder than I had ever anticipated. And that's when I met Joanne. Joanne is the kindest, sweetest, absolute force of nature that I could ever hope to meet. Joanne was the difference that helped the seeds of good ideas that I was planting come to full blossom. I had the bright idea to really engage families through a quarterly parent information sessions, and they were okay. Joanne came to me after the first meeting and she said, "You know, Sean, we can do this better." Soon thereafter, Joanne had led the formation of an Avid Parent Boosters Club that became the fundraising arm for our program. The boosters met during the first 30 minutes of parent information nights, and Joanne was the can-do voice behind every fundraiser. But more important is what she said to me about the second half of our meetings. She said, "Sean, if I'm going to come up to school away from my family on a weeknight, I need to leave here knowing something more about how to help my child. You can do that better, right?" And so we ensured that at every meeting, parents left with actionable steps and strategies to support their child's learning. And we saw the group balloon. At that time, we had a mediocre Avon fundraiser that was high on headache and low on profit. You might know something about some of those. When she got the details, Joanne said, "You know, Sean, we can do this better." Joanne took over as our Avon rep. She gave all of the profits to the program. She streamlined the process for us. She gave our program a 4-figure influx of fundraising that allowed us to launch a 3-day spring break college tour tradition that was affordable for our kids. And then, at the end of each year, Joanne attended our spring celebration. She thanked me enthusiastically for a wonderful evening and was beaming. And as she turned to leave, she leaned over to me and she said, "You know, Sean, we can do this better." The next year, Joanne got college-themed prizes donated. She pre-bagged raffle tickets for each student in the program. And that night, more than ever, the kids really felt special to belong to something that honored them so much. Joanne was right about those aspects of our Avid program. We could do it better. We did do it better. And thanks to the dedication of teachers, parents like Joanne, and the students in our program, 98% of students, as you have heard, earn college acceptances to 4-year colleges from our program. And the students in our program, who are about 1/10 of their graduating class, regularly earn more merit scholarship offers than the rest of their graduating class combined. You know, it is absolutely awe-inspiring, encouraging, and inspirational to see what students can do when parents, teachers, and their peers with a great school get behind them. And our program in our school is just one of 100,000 schools doing this work incredibly well across our country. One of America's greatest historical strengths has been the commitment to provide all of our nation's children, regardless of color, creed, or zip code, with an education. We have chosen in this country to be resolute in our conviction to provide individual opportunity through a collective responsibility for public education for all. Our schools are the institution that we have entrusted with the duty to maintain the American dream. The opportunity to pursue the possibility of prosperity no matter where you come from. And I know the power of a good education. It can absolutely change a life. I experience it from the student desk, and I am a witness to it every day from the teacher desk. And it's from that vantage point that I know that the work of a teacher is a labor of love, that it extends well beyond the bell into the small hours of the morning many times, that it requires dedication, vulnerability, and a lot of really challenging work. And that is happening in schools across this nation. But I also believe that it is a part of the spirit of this nation to say, we can do it better. Indeed, that is the belief that was central to the founding of this nation. We can do it better. And that's the decision we've made across this country to raise the level of expectation in our schools. To say that we want every child to leave our schools a critical thinker, a problem solver, an excellent communicator, ready for college classrooms and gratifying careers. This is the right decision for our country. I believe in the spirit and power of our children to fulfill that promise and meet those expectations, but I also know that they are counting on us, the adults in this country, to give them a fair shot. I am honored and proud to be one of those adults. Let me share with you the story of one of our students. Tim is a fantastic kid. He's the size of a small truck, and he has used that size to become quite a football player. But despite his imposing figure, he has a quiet disposition. He's a gentle giant. And when I read his college essay after knowing him for 3 years, my jaw dropped. You see, I believe that author Wes Stafford is right when he says that all children come into this world with a chalkboard, a blank slate attached to their heart and to their head. And as they come into the world and as they meet people, messages are written on that chalkboard. And over time, in 100 different ways, what's written on that chalkboard seeps into the souls of children. And Tim wrote about a day that changed his life, a day where he had some pretty nasty stuff written on his chalkboard. He wrote about his 13th birthday. He wrote about how in some cultures, this is a cause for a massive party to welcome a boy into adulthood. He wrote about how he didn't get a party, he got evicted. He wrote about how he was welcomed to manhood that day because he has never seen his father since. Tim wrote about how middle school was really hard for him. He could never seem to concentrate, and he was always worried about things at home. Princeton University did a study in the psychology behind what Tim was going through. They found that people who live in fear of scarcity, who wade into that stress when they awake in the morning, actually operate as though they have lost 13 IQ points. To give you an idea of what that feels like, it's like operating with the loss of a night's sleep. Tim had spent much of his middle school career feeling as though he hadn't slept. But slowly, things got better for Tim. His mom worked 2 jobs to put a roof over his family's head and food on the table. I met Tim about halfway through his sophomore year, and he had begun to think about college. You see, multiple teachers had come into Tim's life, and they had started to write some positive messages on that chalkboard. They had started to take an eraser and get rid of some of those ugly messages that had been written there in his life. He wanted to put himself in a position to make life easier on his mom. He wanted to provide for his own family in a way that his father couldn't do for his. So Tim made a series of choices. He developed self-discipline because he chose to sacrifice some of his social life when he knew he needed to study. He learned to be resilient by taking harder courses that would prepare him for college instead of the ones that expected less of him. He developed self-belief by choosing not to listen to his doubts and choosing not to give in when things got hard, and working harder than he ever had before. And this spring, Tim got to weigh options to go to a 4-year college. And in about a month, he'll report to King's College in Pennsylvania, where he'll see his dreams of going to college and playing football come true. Tim is one of the lucky ones. His mother fought like hell to keep their family afloat. He attended one of the best high schools in America and one that has chosen to invest in resources in kids like Tim. But there are a lot of places where Tim's story ends differently. 1/3 of the children in this nation are like Tim. They grow up in homes absent of their biological father. 1 in 3. And we have more children than ever coming from low-income homes. More children in this country qualify for free or reduced-price meals than do not. These children, like Tim, did not ask to be born into these circumstances. They've done nothing to deserve these intensely challenging lives, and they are counting on our schools to give them what our country has always promised: opportunity to climb out of their troubles and live a better life. Since my son's birth, I found myself more observant of children. I'll stop to smile and coo at a baby in a store. I get really angry when I hear about children growing up in despicable conditions. And when I hear about a tragedy with a child, I even find this strange liquid welling in my eyes. And I came across this quote from Charlotte Gray that I think helps to explain it. Originally, it's about being a mother, but I think it applies to both parents equally. Becoming a parent makes you the parent for all children. From now on, each wounded, abandoned, frightened child is yours. You live in the suffering parents of every race and creed and weep with them. You long to comfort those who are desolate. There are some wounded children in this country right now, as I was, as Tim was. They need great schools. They need the kind of schools that your organizations fight for every day. And they need our collective voice to make sure they get them. They need us to require administrations to secure their safety. They need us to demand highly qualified teachers well prepared for the classroom. They need us to ensure worthy buildings and resources for all children. They need us to insist on assessments that honor the depth of their learning and the heights of their capabilities. As a parent, I want these for my son. As a teacher, I want these for my students. And as an American, I want these to ensure the future of our country. It's time for our communities, our states, and our nation to reinvest in our children. The future demands it, and our children deserve it. So today I say thank you for the work you do on behalf of our children everywhere. Little in this world is more powerful than the voice of a passionate parent. I hope you see your work makes the potential in children a reality. I hope you remember being a part of schools is being part of the solution. I hope you return to the corners of this country loud and proud to continue doing your work, and I hope you make your voice heard because we need it now more than ever. Thank you so much for everything you do. Thank you for having me.